something we uh, briefly explored the first time we met. I remember when you were projecting your
I
movie,
lose my baby.
Yeah.
and the funny thing is, like, although I haven't assisted at the beginning of your movie, like I
Yeah.
came I came in the middle. I still like felt you know the struggle and the difficulties, like the harsh realities that the refugees has to come through. And before we go into that, can you just give also a brief like summary of your movie first?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Because it was a memory that I will never let pass by. The very day we met at Bayreuth, after we have do the movie show. So, and it was unfortunate, very unfortunate, not really very unfortunate that we couldn't do something before I left to Nigeria.
Mm,
So, but it was the promise that we kept between ourselves that we have to start up something after
mm-hmm,
I return. So, which today happened to be the first time, but unfortunately, we couldn't manage to be there in person. But according to Nigeria, then say at all nine bad pass, which means if it is okay when it happened, but it is very misfortune and unfortunate if it does not happen at all. So it is good to happen at least than it does not happen at all. So, and us talking about the understanding the root causes of refugee crisis in Africa, it's something that have been vibrating on my memory, which make us to venture into that movie that was displayed that very day. So it was the all idea started from a certain point of our life where we, as a refugee who lives here in Europe, we have all come to a conclusion that our life have come to an end based on the inhuman condition and the kind of the racism that we have been exposed to within the premises that we have been living and the premises where we have been hosted as asylum seekers. You know, as an asylum seekers here in Europe, people outside who are living outside where you are living as a asylum seeker, they don't see what you are moving in, they don't see
mm-hmm,
what you are passing through, and they don't know what is eating you up until they wear your shoe and see where it's hurting you.
mm-hmm,
So that is the reason why we came together as a voice, and we form a very kind of a mighty voice, which we transform into a movie stuff, so that the movie will speak for many of us who are being scared or who couldn't be able to rise and speak for themselves. So the whole movie is not being in detail, but we could be able to raise some awareness in different aspects of refugees' condition, the conditions of refugee practically living here in Germany, but it all touches across Europe. So we speak for them through the movie, which the movie is being titled "The Voice of Refugees." So we make selection of the thing that causes the living of refugee, which is the fleeing of refugee, and the causes of the poor living standard of many refugees who are living here in Europe. So um which of the movie that we display that very day is talking about the typical backgrounds of many refugees' life and the causes of why they flee from their country of origin.
mm. I remember there's this scene in the movie where there's this young guy. He talks to his parents. He convinces his parents that
Yeah.
one of his friend has you know
Yeah.
has crossed the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sahara, went all to this wahala stuff, like
Yeah.
this difficult journey, went to Europe,
Yeah.
and now he's glowing. Now he has nice skin.
Exactly.
Now, and how basically his parents should give him money and support him, give them um give him their blessing, so he will also do the same. And the mother is cautious. She's like,
Yeah.
but you might lose your life. And he's like, sure, like, no, I will not lose my life. And the father said, I will sell my I will
My
sell
land.
my land, and I will use that money for you. And he's like,
Yeah.
thank you, father, thank you. And for me, this scene is like, it's also important because it also highlight that it's not also something that comes mostly from youth that are adventurous, but
Yeah.
also it there's also the variable of the parents that want that basically place their hope on their child,
Yeah.
like by giving them the blessing and allowing them take to embark on that very dangerous journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting angle.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes here in Western world, people don't believe when each of every refugee speak about their story, how they embark it, because many of them have that mindset that every refugee who flee from his country or her country of origin is basically running away from poverty, basically running away from poverty. So they all categorize us in one box, thinking
Yeah,
that all refugees are being fleeing just because of one single reason.
yeah,
So you know, they don't want to open their minds to understand or to be able to make contact with many refugees with different background to know the reason why they flee in these
mhm,
numbers of people
mhm,
leaving their country in a single time and moment. So it's quite alarming how they are being boxed us in one single category. So when you come to Africa, you will see that almost thousands of us who are fleeing our country of origin are not just fleeing for one reason. You can see many people are fleeing just because they see their friends living so large in Europe. And you can also basically see some people who are fleeing because of life circumstances, because they couldn't afford even one 30 square meal a day or even afford one. So you will also come and see people who are fleeing, but let me just use South Sudan as an example. You will see people fleeing from South Sudan coming to Europe, and people are not like kind of accepting them for their own environmental um, problems that they are having from genocide that is happening there every seconds and hours. And you see people coming from South Africa. When you see a refugee now coming from South Africa, people always have that mindset that, oh, South Africa is a mini Europe in Africa. South Africa is well developed. South Africa is this, that is impossible for somebody who is living, being born and raised in South Africa not to have a good living, not to achieve a good education. But many of us doesn't look it at this family standard, because each of every family in Africa have their basic standard. You understand? So people don't look at the minimum wage in Africa. The minimum
mm,
wage, when you compare a minimum wage like in Nigeria now, a minimum wage in Nigeria is basically around 40,000 naira, which is not up to 20 euro for a police officer, for a lecturer, for this kind of thing. So people don't look it in this field. Sometimes I told them in court when I have my court hearing. for my asylum stuff, I told them that even somebody who is living in camp, in asylum camp, receiving 100 euro can be able to pay up to police officers in Africa. So even the judge was laughing. They thought it was a joke, but it was never a joke. So inside the movie, you saw the boy trying to convince his family to, to support his own plan to leave the country through Sahara Desert.
mm,
So you can see the frustration in him. You can see not only just because he saw a friend of him coming from Europe having achieved everything that a man supposed to have achieved. So, but you can see the frustration that he have already been to school as his graduate. Still, he's not getting or working in a very high profile company that suits to his qualification. So he have done everything. He have done some vocational training, still no success. He have done so many quite large number of things to be able to sustain him and also his family, still no success. So, but after he have seen the arrival of his friend who lives in Europe, so he began to twist and change his plan, either for him to also go the same journey, which of his friends have already been achieving something. So that is where he came to a conclusion that his family have to support him to see that he leaves Africa to go to Europe and also make the same money that his friend also make. So that is
mm,
the case of many people who flee because of poverty issue, and many of them are fleeing because of tribal war. Many of them are fleeing because of mislead of the governmental area, and many of them are also fleeing because of so many things like Nigeria. There are Boko Haram, there are
yeah,
Fulani
yeah,
SPN,
yeah.
there are many tribalistic issue that is affecting the less privileged, which is causing them more harm than a country that is facing and exposing to everyday bombastic suicide, you understand. So that is many things that many people have been facing, and also causing majority of fleeing that you see that coming from many African countries as well.
So yeah, not just like one reason, and also not just this image that is an image of typical poverty, but it has more layer than that. It also has some roots from the way the society is. And yeah, you talk about Sudan too, which is going through a war, which is also crazy. Like 2 days ago, like more than 300 people were killed in the
Yeah,
war, and nobody, there's no media coverage. But it's, but also, yeah, I think also that also relates to what you're saying too, is because we even said that, I mean, you even said that when we first met, is that these biases that people have towards, and this subject, refugees, that it also comes from a lack of media coverage, and from
yes,
an emphasis of an image that doesn't show the humanity of the person,
yeah,
but just show the person as just like um uh a mishmash of misery and pity.
yeah, exactly.
But that person
Yeah,
was a human. That's someone's daughter or someone's
sons.
son. Yeah.
Here they don't think about it. I think here they are pushing that narrative of we Africans are not, we are not in the standard to be treated like humans and to be seen like them. So sometimes basically sometimes I'm always been speaking from left to right, because sometimes I don't blame the West treating us like this. Sometimes I blame we the African leaders because I let me just use the issue of Ukraine as an example. When the war broke out in Ukraine, many European they started having the pieces of cake from Ukrainian refugees. They
Mm.
started taking them and accepting them as their own.
Yeah.
It even affected me because during the time where when the issue in Ukraine broke out, I was still living in asylum camp. So what happened was that they even chased me out from the asylum house where I was living
No
to give
way.
the house to the Ukrainians.
That's mad.
So I went to work that very day. So before I came back, I saw my stuff in my neighbor's house. They said that I have to leave
I'm
because
not
they have to
ready
remove
to
the
make
house
you
and
wait.
give it to the Ukrainians who they have already made and registered from the city or the place where I was living.
I
So
lose
you
my
see
baby.
how
Why me?
important they take
Why my
their
baby?
own. You see
Why
how
my baby?
it was being advertised in CNN, in BBC, in German, in Deutsche Welle, in many other intercontinental website and medias. But when you go to Africa, first of all, we have to criticize our own African media for not covering the issue of refugees who are fleeing from Sudan, who are fleeing from different parts of the nations in African country. So they don't cover it. They always use it to rob our own because it's not fit to what they want. And they see that when they cover it, they can't get that amount of money like the way they have from the West, from
Mm.
the all those propaganda of a thing. So you see, there are many issues in Germany, basically in Germany, where when the Ukrainians started leaving their country, they made a lot of chances for them. You see, even at their border, they were depriving many black people to escape the war. Why? Because they want their own people to be able to escape the war first before the any other national. So they make their own citizen as the first priority, while the black people as second choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when you go to Africa, when anything started happening, the first people to evacuate are always foreigners, leaving their own people to die with the war. So here we are here as African refugees living in Europe. We are facing a lot of insecurity as well because even today I was being controlled by police. If since since 2 months, I was always controlled every day. Police controlled me every blessed day. And when you see the first impression when they control a black man here, the
Mm.
first conversation that always pump up from there is, "Are you on drugs? How did you take drugs today?" And
Wow.
there's no atom of respect, like kind of, "How are you? Are you okay? How are you feeling?" When they come, their first impression is that every black man that is riding a scooter is going from door to door to serve a marijuana or a drugs. So when they come to meet you, the first impression is to bat you or to are you on drugs? So when you challenge them that is not a right way to approach somebody, they overlook it. They look as if this person is not a kind of is not our standard that we have to approach in a such polite form. So, but you can't, even if you go back to our own African continent, you will see that our African police, our African brothers, they respect
The
the
Oyimbos,
strangers,
right?
the what we call the phrase that African Nigeria call Oyibo. So we treat them as the first class citizen in our own continent and treat our own people as a second class people. Why we as African refugee living in asylum house and living across the globe, we are being treated even not up to second hand. second class citizen. We are all being treated like nobody. We are being molested. We are being killed like every time. Like it's like kind of it's very alarming and very loud the way we refugees are being treated like nobody. Nobody is even like many refugees who are being killed in Germany. You don't see even African media advertising it or talking about it. It's been once a black man is being killed, mostly in Germany here, they don't talk about it at all. Even our own media in Africa, they don't make it as their own headline. But
which they
when
should, which they
yeah,
should.
which they should, because
Be-
I think
mhm.
I think we should not be accusing sometimes. I think we should not be overstepping or being too forward to blame the Western media sometimes, because when anything pump up here where a white person is being beaten by a black person, or when a black man have a misunderstanding with with a white person, the media advertise it. The
Mm.
Western media or the German media always criticize a black person because they beat up a German person or a white person. But when a white person beat up a black person or killed a white person, so the first people that are supposed to, to advertise or to step in to speak about the incident supposed to black media. They're supposed to start it, but you don't hear them saying about it. Only thing you see that always pump up in black media is homosexual, lesbianism. These are the things they are making their top agendas. They make it as their priority every time to speak on the media. But when a black man is being killed, being murdered in broad daylight, they don't like talking about it. Like refugees, several refugees are being killed. Even just only this year, almost 30 Gambians that I know is being shot to death for no just reason. But when we look at the incident where this Syrian man or Afghanistan man being stabbed police officer to death, they didn't kill the man. They just catch him, and whether they put it in prison. Despite he killed a police officer, but you don't even see media talking about it. It just report it few days. Everything just go. If it is an African man in Nigeria, a Ghanaian, or a Senegal, I will assure you that the media will still be talking about it till now. So these are the things that we have to step up to speak. And if we don't speak about it, there's nobody who is going to speak it for us. And we are here using talking about the causes of the refugee crisis in Africa. We are fleeing to have a better life, to have a better peace, to have peace of mind, while we are facing a whole bunches of trauma in our new home where we're supposed to live and have a peace. We don't have peace in our new home. We still go back to Africa. We still don't have peace. We are having police brutality, facing police brutality in Europe. We still go back to our own country, we still face the same police brutality. And these are the kind of things that we have to speak about. And these are the things basically that is making many people to flee from their country of origin because of the violence they face every time. It's very alarming and very loud.
Hmm. That's the kind of reality that you know it needs to get out there, because you you barely hear that out. Like,
Yeah,
it's for me it's basically engineering
yeah,
information. You select what you want to the public to the priority that the public have access to, and
yeah,
some other parts that is true, some other parts of reality you just put it to the darkness. And for me, this is basically creating making people, like, it's conditioning people in a
yeah,
certain way. It condition people to be sensitive towards something and less sensitive towards another.
yeah,
People to be more sensitive towards what you said about the homosexual right, and be less sensitive about, human rights. I mean, you
Yeah,
know, someone who's just shot dead like that. I mean, you know, that for me is inhuman.
it's crazy. And if you come to Asylum House here in Europe, basically here in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
there is there is a Asylum House that it's called Aka Centrum.
Mm-hmm.
So this Aka Centrum is basically is defined as a reception center for the arrivals,
Mm-hmm.
and which it means three words in Deutsch, which is Ankunft, Entscheidung, and Abschiebung. So people people don't and people who are living inside this camp, they don't know where they are living. We all have that thought that we are all living in asylum
So
house. But no,
what are the three words again? Uncoofed.
the three word is Ankunft, Entscheidung, and
Mm.
Abschiebung.
Can you translate in English for the
Yeah,
viewers that don't?
it means arrival,
Mm-hmm.
decision, and repatriation or deportation.
Okay.
So it means when you arrive, this camp means when you arrive to Germany,
Mm-hmm.
then they will that is mean you arrived, which is Ankunft. So
Mm-hmm.
after you arrived, in within 1 week, they will give you as an interview. Then after they grant you an interview, then you will go there. Basically, 99% you will have a chance that it's being rejected. So because that is the way the camp is being programmed, so when you
Mm.
come, before you even stay up to 3 days, you will receive a letter. Even the very day that you arrived is the day that you are going to get the letter that you are going to be having an interview on so date after like several days that you arrived. Then after you
Mm.
went to the interview, then you will have less than 3 days, 4 days, 5 days to have a negative. Sometimes you have a direct negative, which we call a direct negative, that you are going to be deported to your country of origin. Basically, it happened to the people who flew, who have direct flight from their country of origin to Germany. So sometimes it comes with a negative with Dublin, then Dublin means you are going to be deported to your first fingerprint country, the country that is responsible for your first fingerprint country, which
Mm.
Italy is basically responsible for almost 80% of many refugees who are being distributed to different countries. So after
Mm.
you have received this negative, which means and Scheidung, they have taken decision of you. Then the next thing is that you are going to receive a letter that they are going to deport you or repatriate you back to Italy, or repatriate or deport you back to your country of origin, which is this third word. And this third word is happening within 6 months of your
Mm.
arrival. So after that 6 months, if they don't have you to deport you, then they will now extend your deportation, the duration of your deportation, to 1 year and 6 months.
Mm.
So if they didn't succeed to get rid of you to deport you, then they will now grant you stay, which means they will now come and distribute you to another section of asylum process of a thing, where it's going to be very easy for them to get hold of you to deport you back to your own country. So when people come to this camp, which is called Aka Centrum, and this Aka Centrum, I think it is more than the 14 Aka Centrum, which is published in Germany, which seven of them is been, I think seven or more is being established in Bavaria.
Mm-hmm.
So it's is a place where people are living very critically, and immediately you are being thrown inside this Aka Centrum automatically. your freedom is being taken out by you illegal, indirectly. People doesn't know because immediately you come to this camp, automatically you are not allowed to work. You
Mm-hmm.
are not allowed to leave the premises where you live. If you leave that premises, the place where your asylum case is being processed, you are going to be given a fine. For example, let's just say if your asylum case is being handled in Beirut, so you are not allowed to leave Beirut to go to Wurzburg or come to Bamberg. If you are being caught on the way, you are going to be taken back to the same camp and be given a fine of maybe 200 to 150 something euro because you are not authorized to leave. You are being mandated to live in that city. You are not allowed to leave the city. So which is like a prison to me. And as well, you are not allowed. Initially, we are not allowed to cook by ourselves. You are only mandated to eat the food which they serve
Hmm.
in the canteen where they serve food. And sometimes the food which they serve in the canteen sometimes is very cold, is
Hmm.
is most time is expired. They share the food that have been expired, and sometimes they share a milk that is already been soured. So when we complain that this food, so the only response that sometimes that we only got from this camp is that we have to eat everything that is being given, that we don't have a choice. So basically, we are indirectly living in a prison,
Mm-hmm.
which is
That's what it
in the
sounds.
yeah, which is in a form which is in a form of asylum house. So because inside when I was living in asylum house, I had a friend who was in a prison for 3 months. Then after he came back from prison, he was given up to 2,000 to 3,000, 2,000, almost up to 2,000 euro for the work that he did in during the time he was in prison, because he said they came and take them to work to do some work and they will pay them, which they will not pay them during the time of their prison time. Then after he was being released, they now gave him the money that he earned from those jobs, which of those of us who are living in camp are not allowed to work. But
Hmm.
those people who are living in prison are even allowed to work and earn money. So these are the differences that you see that happens here. That during the time my movement was to my movement is to to bring these two things together so that
Mm-hmm.
people will know that even prison, to be in a prison in some aspect of life is more better to be in asylum house. But people doesn't believe, because the only different thing that is in the prison, that people in the prison have more, that people who live in the camp have more than those who live in the prison, is freedom of movement. And the freedom of our movement who live in the camp is being limited.
Hmm.
So people who live in prison might not be walking around the city. So that is the only difference it makes, and the benefit that we have more than the people who are living in the prison as asylum seeker in Germany.
Do you think like this information, this wealth of information that you're holding, like if it's broadcast to you know African youth, like if they fully grasp the ins and out of what it means to live in an asylum as an African, what it means to be how inhumane you are treated as an African, um that is even worse like a refugee. Like, do you think it's gonna lead to a shift of paradigm, a shift of okay.
Yeah, I think it might contribute to change people's. mind and narratives towards the living standard of many African refugees who lives basically here in Germany. So I think it have to be a kind of movement that have to be initiated to to change many mind and narratives coming from Africa, which is making many to flee, leaving their comfort. And because many of them who are fleeing have a very good job, have
Mm-hmm.
a very good handwork, have established themselves. And I think because since I've started this movement of talking about refugees and other things, I haven't seen a kind of movement before, because the movement I always see on media is an African person coming to media and take a picture with a Mercedes Benz, going to a showgrass house, a concert hall, or a place looking like a kind of a very furnished area. Then they will take a picture of it, post it on the media, on a Facebook, telling their family, "Oh, this is one of my car that I uses when I'm off from work, or this is one of my house that I put people for rent. This is one of my apartment that I go for vacation." And those people who are doing those, who are pushing these narratives, they don't even eat 3 square meal, even if they are living in Germany. So these are many narratives that even in the media, you could see some of us Africans who are doing fabrical work, working for 8 hours,
Yeah,
doing 3 jobs every blessed day, who have even lost the sense of hormone, who have even lost their ability to reason, coming to social media and tell people to come and died on in the process coming to Europe, which is they are making people to go to the to Mediterranean Sea, travel through Mediterranean. They don't kind of like tell people this is the way you have to make it to come to Europe and live a very standard life. You understand, like some movement that I started few back ago, but I was trying to have some support from people like, since I met you, maybe we can be able to, to push that narrative ahead through our power and everything. So I was pushing a
definitely.
narrative that yes, with no bias, Europe is good and people is good for people to come and live. But the only thing that I'm always advised to people is, if we that Africans that lives here, we have two alternatives. Number one alternative is, if we can be able to come together as African youth to build African continent as it have to suit us, to enable us earn as much as we want to be paid in Western world, then it will be able to help us to change people's narrative of Europe and change people's mind, already made up mind to go out there to die. And if we can be able to push it to make some changes in Africa, we should not wait our leaders to make a
Mm.
change. Then we that is living here for long, people who've been living here for 40 good years, 50 good years, if we can be able to say, okay, let's just focus in Africa, we can be able to found an NGO. There are many foundations that can give you a grant to go and establish their farm business. There are different kind of business that you can be able to establish in Africa that can be able to employ people, and they can
Mm-hmm.
be paid in European standard. That is number one. And number two is, if we can be able, as an Africans who are living here in Europe, if we can be able to build up an NGO, a trustworthy NGO, then we can be able to set up a plan whereby we can collaborate with many companies that train skillful workers. We can collaborate with people who train skillful workers that we will bring some certain range of people from Africa. We can be selecting every year 2 people from Nigeria, 2 people from Ghanaian, 2 people from Senegal, then we can bring them every year. We can set up a range of people. We can say, okay, we are bringing 20 people each year
Mm-hmm.
to set them up in Germany so that they will start up. They will not die. They will not go out there to die in Mediterranean or to die in the Sahara or to be enslaved
I live
in
there.
in Libya. So if we can set up this strategy whereby we set up a plan, collaborate with different type of skillful worker, because if you come to Germany, there are a whole bunches of company who are about to fold up, not just because they don't have that resources to pay for workers, but the problem why they are folding up is because they don't have the workers to work for them.
Yeah, human resources is very
Yeah.
scarce.
So if we can be able to set up that range, bringing people from Africa, give them the paper that they deserve, they will be legally come here, work, and integrate into the society. Then this is the second idea that I have, that if every Africans here should come together, build up a community like any, because when you see a
Mm,
Syria, Arab people, they are not suffering the same thing that we Africans are suffering. Turkish are not suffering the same thing that we African people are suffering, because the problem that we Africans are having in this Europe is that our first African brothers and sisters who migrated from Africa to Europe were migrated, they came here, they were only fishing for their stomach.
mm,
They did not build up an empire whereby the new generation from Africa will come and establish themselves. But if you see Turkish, when Turkish came here, most of them build up a company. Most of them build up many things that can be able to employ many Turkish if they migrate from Turkish to this place. Then if you check of many stores,
mm-hmm.
grocery stores, barbing stores, you see that 30% of it are being held by Arab and Turkish. You will hardly see an African barbing salon or grocery shop. So these are the things that they build up a standard stuff that can be able to benefit their own people. But you will hardly see an African organization, a standard African organization existing here. You will hardly see a standard African shop that is employing thousands of Africans here. So these are the things that we have to realize, that we have to build our foundation that we speak for us in the Western world, because Africans are being mistreated. Turkish are not treated the same way we are being treated. If you, as an African refugee, have an appointment with a Turkish or with Arab refugee, they will first of all attend to those people before they will come and attend to you.
Mm,
Because of what? Because they have built up a foundation, they have built up a network that is speaking for them, even when those people who build it up are not even living. But we,
mm-hmm.
Africa, I think we are not lazy. We are very energetic to build up those standard stuff. But our problem is self achievement. We are too attached to self achievement. We are
Mm,
too attached to like enviness. I think this spirit of enviness and compromise because of a little benefit from somebody is being built in the DNA of we Africans. We can be compromised because of cup of a wine, and we can we can compromise what we benefit for the entire community just because we want to have it for only for ourselves. So these are the things that we have to liberate ourselves from and build these two things. If we can be able to build up this strategy, I think it will help us to solve this crisis, these large whole bunches of crisis coming from Africa to Europe.
I see. Okay, my brother. On wrapping this up, I want to ask you, what is your utopia for you know, the the black Africans. Like I want to hear your dreamer side.
Like, can you repeat the question, please?
What is your utopia? So utopia is basically like
My main Africanism, or
it's what will reflect like a perfect way, a perfect like a level, like a high standard of living for Black African, like you know, the reality that you really aspire that Africans should live.
yeah, like I would say, yeah, and those are the things that motivated me to start up this all the engagement that I've been venturing into.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see myself, I always tell people that I don't want to get rich,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to build a mansion. I just want to
But you're
live
living
a
in one. You're living in one. Look
yeah,
at your.
I yeah, actually, yeah, yeah. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that I'm not here in Europe to, to build up a such whole large number of resources and go back to Africa and start driving Mercedes Benz, or build a very kind of huge mansion that people will be speaking about. Why I am here, and the reason why I'm striving for those narrative, it is because I want to build a kind of empire where many Africans will come and they will be respected. I want to push that narrative that I don't want to be compromised for any such reason or any amount of money for stop to speak for my own people. And
Mm,
I want to push it aside, that I want to push that narrative that every Africans that you see, despite us being in the same color of skin, that we don't have that one spirit and one, like, let me just put it this way, like, I want to change that narrative that when you come to Europe, they are being packaged us in one bus. Once they see you, they will say you are a criminal. Once they see me, they will say I'm a criminal. So we have to change this narrative, and it is also one of the things that I'm pushing ahead. That we should push this narrative whereby it will liberate many of us who are living here, not for them to see us as one. If your brother go to steal, if an African person come to Germany and he went out there and steal. When they see you as a black person, they will not say, is somebody else. Because you are black person, they will also say you are the person who steal. So
mm,
these are the things that we want to, I'm pushing for this narrative to stop, and also to change the mindset of many Africans who are living here, to come together, build up a community to strive for a better change, not only striving for change in Europe, but striving for change in also in Africa, to create and generate this type of massive movement that will change the mindset of the African youth.
yeah.
You understand? So, and also to generate a good information for many of us who are desperately want to come to Europe. So I will always create a two different separate portion for them. Either you migrate as illegal migrant, or you come as a legal migrant. So
Mm,
these are the two things that we have to, I'm striving for us to create, so that if we can be able to help people come here to study, or come here as a vocational training, come
mm,
here to do something, and we can develop that thing, that we are here not to develop people's land. We are here to and to acquire knowledge and go back to our land and establish ourselves, like the way the white people did. They came to our land, bring that ideology of colonialism, colonize, take what they want, come back to their land, and rebuild their own land with what they have stolen from us. So if we can also create that opportunity whereby young people comes here, study, learn and also go back to Africa and start up their own investment that can be able to employ more people. So these are the things that I want to push on.
Mm. All right. I appreciate you, brother, for this
Thank you, bro.
conversation. Yeah. And yeah, thank you for tuning in with this high vibrational discussion. And
Yeah,
stay
thank you,
tuned
bro.
for more content. All right.
One love, brother. Thank you
One
very
love,
much.
bro.
Then have a good evening.
Thank you, brother. You too. Peace.